Rise and shine, Apocalypse Scouts. Today we are baking bread in the apocalypse. The zombie apocalypse will obviously test the limits of your mental and physical endurance. But beyond that, the zombie apocalypse will test the strength of your spirit. Do you have what it takes, not just to survive, but to thrive in an apocalypse? Today we are going to fortify our spirits by baking a simple 3-ingredient bread that also tastes good to your soul. Greetings, friends. I'm Crazy Conspiracy Dude, your pre-apocalyptic source for post-apocalyptic information. Using digital media to prepare for the collapse or ascendance of digital technologies, this is the art of the apocalypse.
You're listening to Radio Free Apocalypse.
Previously, we went out and bought a few extra supplies just to be one step ahead of any supply chain disruptions. And right on cue, the local stores have empty bread shelves today and no flour. So, I don't know what's the rumpus, but it seems like a pretty good time to talk about baking bread. So I've tapped into our strategic reserves here to bake a super simple 3-ingredient bread, which I call the night of the living bread, the dawn of the bread, the walking bread, undead bread. The bread don't die, apocalypse bread. Baking bread is about so much more than just making bread to eat. A warm loaf of bread encourages sharing and togetherness. It's an almost shamanic ritual of destruction and creation. I'm mostly vegetarian, but you can't make a good loaf of bread without cooking some microbes. And I think that requires a little gratitude and reminds us of our own place in the scheme of things, like a circle within a circle, with a spiral, with a wheel within a wheel. We are ultimately food for microbes. And baking bread smells good. To make apocalypse bread, you only need 3 ingredients. Some flour, a spoonful of sugar, and a bottle of beer. Instead of messing around with activating yeast or cultivating a sourdough starter, we're going to tap into that microbial biome contained in every bottle of beer. Every bottle, a universe. I think Walt Whitman said that. No. Okay. I made that up. So you start with 2 cups of flour. Self-rising flour, if you've got it. Something like about a half of a tablespoon of sugar. Mixing in the sugar with the flour. And now we will pour in about something like a cup of beer. You can use any sort of beer that you've got handy. This is a dark beer. A dark beer like a stout will give you kind of a dark loaf of bread. An IPA will give you sort of a sourdough. You can use apple cider and make a sweet loaf of bread. Or you can just use a plain old can of beer. You may have noticed that this recipe cuts a few corners. It cuts a few corners because of science. Yeast in the beer reacts with the sugar, and that produces bubbles, which are carbon dioxide. And that will make this have a nice hard crust on the outside, but will be a little bit fluffy on the inside. It's okay that it will be a little bit liquidy like this. You don't have to knead it. That's another one of the corners that we're cutting with the magic of science. And that's really it. That is ready to cook. So we're going to put this inside of a lined tin. If you'd don't have paper to line it, just make sure you grease it pretty well. A little loaf of bread I call better bread than dead. I'll put it in the oven, which has been preheating. Oven is set to 180 degrees Celsius, which is about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to cook for 45 to 50 minutes, something like that. Obviously, you could double the whole recipe if you wanted. Make a bigger loaf of bread, which you probably have to cook longer because of the science thing. But anyway, it's in there now. So while it cooks, I thought I might just recite to you a few poems by Walt Whitman from Leaves of Grass. If I contradict myself very well, then I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. Ding! Oh, time's up. Let's have a look. Yeah, pretty good. Oh man, look at that. It's alive. I should call it bread. Look at that nice golden brown crust. Look at that. Stay gold, Johnny Cake. Stay gold. Nice crunchy crust. Fluffy inside. That's going to be so good. I wish you could try this. It doesn't just taste good to my mouth, it tastes good to my soul. I'll use the rest of the beer to make another loaf for the neighbors. You know, love thy neighbors was originally a controversial statement. Think about that. And that's all for today, Apocalypse Scouts. To complete the requirements for your virtual Apocalypse bread baking merit badge, bake a loaf of your favorite bread and tell me about it or post a picture in the comments below. Tonight we're going to eat this bread along with this vegetarian one bean chili. Please like and subscribe and repeat the Apocalypse Scouts oath. Hope for the best. Prepare for the apocalypse. Happy trails until next time, and remember, the apocalypse is the spice of life.